Hey, I'm Sandra. I'm 25 years old and I'm working to pay off what was $120-something thousand of student loan debt. I wanted to make a video explaining the step-by-step process that I use to manage my finances. So I'll kind of go through what I do the minute I get a paycheck and how I move money around, how I decided where to put money, and the steps I take to make sure that my money is safe. If you're not familiar with me and my financial goals, I am working to pay my debt off as quickly as possible while still living a little. I could definitely be paying my debt off a lot faster, but I don't really have a reason to. My goals in life are to live it while I'm alive. I do have a goal of paying my debt off aggressively, but I also want to put money towards other expenses that will allow me to enjoy myself a little bit along the way. So that's my backstory, and that lens allows you to understand a little bit of how I make some of my financial decisions. In order to track my income and expenses, I use an all-in-one digital tracker that I designed where I have my budget categories and then I also have an income and expense tracker. This is good for me because it is minimal steps and I can just keep track of everything. So when I get paid, the first thing I do is I'll input that income into the tracker. I am offset a month with my finances, so any money that I make in one month, I spend in the next month. My income is slightly variable because I do punch a time clock, but I like zero-based budgeting where I give every single dollar a job. So it allows me to do that with a little bit more precision since not every paycheck is exactly the same. They can vary by $10, $20. So I receive a paycheck. It gets direct deposited into my main home base bank account. Then the first thing I do is I pull $1,150 out of every single paycheck and put it towards my loans because that is my biggest priority, paying off my debt. Then I was able to create the rest of my budget from what's left over. As soon as I get paid, I make a payment to student loans and then I set aside money for anything else that I need to set aside money for. For me, the big ones are my fixed expenses. I pay $900 a month to my boyfriend who owns his home and handles all of our shared expenses. So I just give him that money to do whatever he wants with. And then I pay for my car insurance monthly and my phone insurance. Not phone insurance, phone bill. Once I have set aside money for those expenses, I move on to saving money. I have a fully funded emergency fund that I work to save through school, and then I was able to graduate with that money. I have about 3 months of expenses in my account, and I'm comfortable with that for now while I pay off my student loan debt. I work in healthcare. It is a very secure setting, but I will not be using any of my savings to pay my debt. It won't make a significant enough impact to be worth not having the security. So I don't need to save for an emergency fund. Jake owns his home and I don't have plans of purchasing one of my own because I like him. I plan to live here, so I'm not saving for a home. So those are kind of two big buckets that are not a concern to me, but I do have smaller buckets that I want to save for regularly, and this is where the living piece comes in. So I put a little bit of money aside for large expenses that come up throughout the year. A few things I've been told that I should cut out are my ski pass, which was $400 this year, but we do ski enough throughout the year to justify purchasing the pass, especially in Colorado where day tickets are upwards of $200. So you can break even on one $400 pass pretty easily. But $400 in 1 month would be really difficult, so I set aside about $30 a month to pay for my ski pass when the time comes. And this just makes it a lot easier to make that purchase because it's such a small monthly expense that I don't really notice. Other things that I save for monthly is I put money into a bucket for travel. When a trip does come up and I already have $400 saved for it, it makes it a lot easier to make that happen. And traveling is something that I really want to prioritize in my lifetime and already have, and we're able to make it a lot more affordable by using our credit cards to pay for our regular expenses and then using those points to travel. What I'll do is I'll move all this money from my home base checking account into an Ally savings account, and I chose Ally because it allows you to have buckets for each of your savings. This video is not a promotion for Ally. I just think it's a great feature that they have, and I really wish that other banks had it, but I like being able to organize my money into separate things and know how much money I have for one item. For example, clothing is one of my savings buckets. If I know I have $80 for clothing, I can make a purchase knowing that I can afford it. So I really like the buckets feature on Ally, so I move all of these savings that I have into that bank account as soon as I get paid. My emergency fund is at a whole separate bank because I want it to be extra difficult to access because it is only for emergencies, so I have that one in a different high yield savings account earning about 4%. So that's how I save money, and it is my third priority. First priority again is paying off debt. Second priority is the things that I need to do to live, and then third priority is savings. My fourth priority when I get paid is my personal spending, which I allow myself to spend $250 a month on anything. So some months I spend more on clothes, some months I spend more on going out, and that is just how I have that set up. And then once I've set aside my personal fund money, I make an investment to my Roth IRA. Whatever's left over, I have $50 a month budgeted for this, but really do anything that is left over at the end of the month. I do invest pre-tax with my 401k, and I have time on my side. So fortunately, I will be okay come 65. And then early retirement is a goal for after my debt has been paid off. So once I have kept track of all of my expenses, I dive into each of my bank accounts to check for fraud. And while I'm there, I'll track any expenses that I have made. I'll just do a quick scan of every single account and make sure all the purchases were something that I did. I have caught fraud a couple times doing this, but it's very rare. But I like to make sure if money's coming out of my account that I get something for it. This is one of the other benefits of using credit cards for your regular expenses, is that it is protected, and also someone doesn't have direct access to your debit account, which is your checking account. Most banks do not protect you against fraud. They just will shut down your account, but they won't refund you the money, where a credit card does offer you that protection, and that is so worth it to me. One of the ways that I'm able to use credit cards responsibly is that I am tracking all of my expenses on a regular basis. I do it once or twice a week, depending on if it's a payday, because I'll track every single Monday, and then if it's a payday, I track again on Friday. And this just allows me to know where I'm at with my spending for the month, so that I'm not overspending on a credit card, because it's easy to just swipe it if you want to and not see the consequences, because the money's not coming out of your bank account. And every single payday, I pay the full amount of the card. I don't try to play credit card games where you're like boosting your credit score by paying 3 days before the due date. If you don't know what I'm talking about and you want to play those games, I'm sure you can look up how to boost your credit score, but it is not something that I'm interested in, because my credit score is great and I don't care. I just want to pay off the accounts. Every single account and bill that I have is set to auto pay, but I usually am paying off the statement before the auto pay date, and that's just my security to make sure that I don't get a late fee. Over the top, but it allows me to keep track of my money and know what I have going in and out of each account, and I just like to do it that way. It's fun because it's my finances, so I can do them how I want to. One thing that I'll quickly answer is why I'm paying my debt off instead of investing, because my loans are federal. A lot of people assume that they are very low interest rate and that I could out invest my loans. I have graduate student loans, which are not as low of interest rate as undergraduate student loans, but my loans are between 5 and 7% interest. I also am investing enough right now currently that I will be very comfortable in retirement because I started so young. So I'm not super concerned about having infinite money. I want to buy my time back now, and I don't know if this is a symptom of working in healthcare where you see how quickly life can change for you, or if it's just my own attitude, but I don't want to count on having a lot of money later. I want to count on having time now. So by paying off my student loans, I'll be able to pull back on work and work part-time, because I'm putting $2,500 a month to my loans. And so I could pull back a day even and still be making more money than before I had my loans. Having that extra day is worth it to travel, hike, run, pursue my own hobbies and passions, and eventually I'll be able to pull back even more than one day a week and buy more time for myself. So the way that I see it is paying off my loans buys me time, and I don't need endless money. I need endless time. Yes, having more money also buys you time, but ultimately in order to out invest my loans, it would take me much longer, and I can have that freedom as soon as my loans are gone. I don't want this to be mistaken for me not enjoying my work. I love my field of work and plan to work in it for a very long time. I also am not living to work. I'm working to live, and I'm fortunate to have a job that I really love showing up to every single day, but at the end of the day, it is an occupation that I do in exchange for money. I just happen to also get fulfillment out of the thing that I do in exchange for money. That's very lucky. If you are a little confused on why I would be investing less and paying my loans off more, I see paying my loans off as an investment in myself, because it allows me to buy back my time. But I did take those loans in order to do the job that I have, and I don't plan on giving that job up just because the loans are gone. So hopefully my process when it comes to managing my money makes sense, and you understand why I make the choices that I make, and maybe you're kind of questioning your own choices or curious about how other people do things so that you can organize your money in a different way, or maybe you're just nosy and wanted to know how I do my stuff. Well, there it is. Now you have it. Hopefully if you took anything away from this video, it is that your number one priority should be the first thing everything that you do with your money. If you're saving, it's important to have objectives that you're saving for, because that'll keep you motivated to continue saving. And it's okay to spend savings that are meant to be spent. Have goals, stick to them. You got this. If you want to tag along for my financial journey, you can go ahead and subscribe. It's lovely to have you, and I'll see you in the next video.